I've been busy working on my diamonds, and today I want to show you how to take the strips that we cut in our first video and sewed and cut them on the 45-degree angle. I also want to talk to you about your corners and your applique. So let's go take a look at our strips. So now that we have our strips together, I want to show you how to cut the 45-degree angle. So I've taken my strip sets and I want to ensure that my measurement is exactly 10.5 inches. So I've laid my 10.5-inch ruler on top of my strips, and if I need to, I can always go back to my ironing board, a little bit of best press, and make it stretch out a little bit to ensure that I'm on 10.5. If not, you might need to take it back to your sewing machine and create or lessen your 1/4 inch, maybe make it a little bit more scant to make sure that it's 10.5 all the way through. If it's not, then your piece is not going to be accurate, so your points are going to be very hard to try and match. So now that I know that my strip set is 10.5, I'm going to take my long ruler and I want to show you where the 45-degree angle is. That 45-degree angle is going to lay right along the last strip, nice and straight, and then you're going to take your rotary cutter and we're going to cut that piece out. That's your waist piece. Now we're ready to cut our strips at whatever size you need to make it. And again, you can ensure that you're cutting right by using the 45-degree angle at the bottom of your piece, and that way you'll know that you're always on 45 degree. So I'm going to cut a 1.5. And I see my 45 is straight and my 1.5 is straight, and so now I'm going to go ahead and cut all the way through, and I'm going to do that until I get to the edge of that strip. Now let's talk about how to sew the strips together. So I've taken 2 of the pieces that I'm going to be sewing, and we're going to offset, or not offset, but your light and your dark will be opposite each other. So if I take 2 of those and I flip one on top of the other, your seams are going to nest again. And this is where it's very important that you know where your 1/4 inch seam is on your sewing machine. So by pinning, and a 1/4 inch, it's about 3, if you're using a 2.0, it's about 3 stitches in. You can put your pin through there and it'll come out exactly on the opposite side of your seam. And by doing that and sewing it, you'll get those perfect seams together. And you're going to do that with all of your strips until you have your diamonds. And you need 8 of those diamonds. So let's pin a couple and sew them, and let's talk a little bit about how to cut the squares for your outside corners. So now we're at our sewing machine and we're ready to sew our strips together, our units together. And I want to show you how when you lay them one on top of the other, you're going to have that dog ear, and that's approximately about 1/4 inch in. And if you do that and you take your pin, then we can pin match that again either about the 3rd stitch in, and if you do that it'll come right through on the other side of the seam. And if you have to, you can do 1 strip at a time. Just take it and then push it through, and then while that pin is standing nice and straight, go ahead and take another one and just pin that one in place. And we're going to do that to each one, being very careful not to stretch your units out of whack. And that should lay right pretty nicely on there. Let's see. Those are lining up very nice. If you notice that they're not lining up, you might need to take a look at your 45. If your ruler shifted, then your strips are not going to line up. So again, just be very careful in your cutting and in your piecing those strips. Those are lining up nicely. And so now, my last one. Oh, Slate. Okay, that's the last one. And again, you'll be left with a little dog ear on the bottom side. And I've pinned from the outside or from the inside out so that I can, I don't know why that one moved, so that I can leave my pins in place and not worry about taking them and distorting that seam. So I've started with my little piece of fabric, my starter piece, and I'm going to go ahead and sew that all the way down. Needle down so that when my machine stops, it'll stop with the needle down. And I go pretty slow when I'm kind of crossing my pins. Here comes another pin, so I'll slow down. Make sure that I don't hit any of those pins. And see, I want to show you how, as I was stitching, my fabric kind of moved to the left. So at this point, instead of going all the way through, I'm going to stop, lift my fabric, and I'll just put it back in. I'm not going to worry about taking those stitches out, because when I start stitching again, I've actually, what happened was that my 1/4 inch got really skinny. So what I'm going to do is just put it back in. And if you hold your fabric a little close to if you put your hands closer to your fabric, closer to the presser foot, you can control that fabric and make it go, or stay, actually, where you need it to stay. And as I come through to the end, the joy of having a dog. Why are you barking? We're going to finish that off, and I'll take my little piece of scrap fabric and put it back in. Finish that off. Let's see how I did. Okay, so now that we have stitched all the way through, we're going to check to make sure that our seams are nice and where we want them to be. And they all look pretty good. Once I press that, you're going to have a nice, all those points will meet nicely. And again, I'm going to take it to the ironing board and just go ahead and press that seam open. So that is how you sew all those pieces together. What I want to show you next is how to prepare for your applique pieces, how to cut up a square if you don't have a ruler that is the size that you need. Like say a 21-inch square. Obviously, not many of us have a 21-inch square. So I want to show you how to use 2 rulers to achieve that. I've taken my Steam-A-Seam or Heat and Bond, anything that, whatever product you use for your fusible, and I've traced off my pieces, labeled them, and put them in little Ziploc bags, getting them ready for appliquing them onto my piece. I wanted to show you how to cut your squares out because they are larger pieces, and so without having real big rulers, I wanted to show you how to measure using the 2 rulers. So I need the square to be 21¼ inches. So I've used my 16½ and my 6½, and together I'm just going to add 6½, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, and my quarter. So if I lay my ruler on that 1/4 inch edge, then I have the distance that I need to cut my square, and you're ready to do your next cut. And that's how you cut if you've got a longer piece. I hope you've enjoyed this, and if you have any other questions, feel free to contact me.